Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for the segment, we have Trent Broberg, CEO of ACERTUS, a tech-driven automotive logistics company, to discuss supply chain constraints and consumer auto purchasing behavior. Trent, it's great to see you. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Jill.
The ongoing issue in the automotive sector has been the lack of vehicle availability. What's the answer to getting vehicles into consumers' hands?
That's a great question. I think all the listeners out there and I know all my friends and family are asking me how to get a vehicle these days. There's no silver bullet right now. It's, I think, just a matter of relationships. OEMs are starting to produce vehicles. I think the supply chain shortages will continue to persist into the near future, into 2023. But just having a relationship with your dealership and making sure that the logistics part of things is ironed out from a dealership perspective is probably your best chance.
Do you see an end in sight to supply chain issues? It sounds as if many of these trends have been accelerated as a result of the pandemic. Supply chain constraints, of course, what we're seeing happening with the commodity constraints in Russia and Ukraine, but it seems as if logistically shifting around these relationships was something that needed to happen anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on in the markets. There's maybe a little bit of a black swan event happening right now with across the geopolitical and macroeconomic pressures with the OEMs. So you've got supply chain constraints on one side of the business. You've got wholesale pricing increasing, so consumers looking out there to purchase vehicles, and it's really the opportunity for end consumers and dealership groups and those that are looking to purchase assets to really look at forming new relationships and partners where they can. And then obviously the throughput. So they're purchasing vehicles across the domestic space and up to our north of the border. And it's really all about how do they get that to the end consumer? How do they get it to the right place at the right time?
And Trent, how consumers buy vehicles is completely transformed in the last few years with the pandemic really pushing digital retailing to scale. Tell us where online vehicle purchasing stands today and what can we expect in the future?
Yeah, I think what obviously COVID presented was a big catalyst for digital retailing space. I think consumers want an omni-channel solution. So some consumers like myself are okay with purchasing online and know that I'm purchasing from a vetted vendor or vetted partner there. But some purchasers still want to go in and touch and feel the metal and do the test drive and really deal with the dealership themselves or make the acquisition of the purchase themselves. So I think what's happened here is an omni-channel solution where dealerships and OEMs need to meet the consumers where they're at. So whether they want to purchase from their home and have it delivered direct to their door, or they want to purchase from a dealership, they've got those opportunities to do so.
And the shift in electric vehicles is also something that's going to transform the industry as well. Will that present any issues in terms of logistics and supply chain constraints there? What are the implications for vehicle delivery and logistics as we look forward?
It does create some interesting supply chain challenges. So obviously, all the raw material supply chain challenges that you see in the news today are present in this day, and then obviously the logistical challenges. EVs are heavier, so you can't put as many on a truck when you're moving it across from either a railhead or obviously out of an OEM manufacturing facility. So you've got to take that into consideration. And then the charging infrastructure. On average, a data point here, on average, an EV will lose somewhere around 4% of its battery life per day because it's got to draw based on the electrical components in the vehicle. So as you're moving those throughout the supply chain, or you're storing those or moving them to dealerships, you've got to continually charge those vehicles that you don't have that challenge with ICEs, so internal combustion engines. So there's a host of logistical challenges that are out there that we're trying to solve for.
And finally, Trent, we continue to see a pickup in M&A among the industry from dealers to online retailers. Do you see this continuing, and why or why not?
Yes, I think so. I think logistics is a differentiator. I think that there's been a lot of acquisitions or unlikely pairings of acquisitions that have happened in the industry lately because people are starting to understand that the closer they are to the consumer, the faster we can get vehicles through the supply chain, the finished vehicle component from the OEM to the dealership or the remarketing or used channels to the end consumers, the more likely you are to sell the vehicle. So there's a throughput challenge there. So the faster we can move, the closer we can be to the consumers, the better off the consumer is and the business itself.
All right, Trent, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Yeah, thanks, Jill.